Hey, what's shaking? It's Alex Greenwood, host of PR After Hours here on Anchor FM. I've been podcasting off and on since 2006, and I've got to tell you something. Back in the old days when it was all stone knives and bear skins and a string and Dixie cups, podcasting was a real challenge. Fast forward to today, and it's still got a lot of challenges, especially for folks who don't have time to set up a home studio or go to a studio or things like that. So I found Anchor FM and I love it, love it, love it for how easy it is to create my own podcast here on this channel called PR After Hours. I love how you can put everything together so simply right from your desktop or your phone. And there's so many great creation tools that allow you to record and edit your pod right there. And I just can't recommend that part alone enough. Also, though, Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more. You can make money from this too with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So download the free Anchor app or go to Anchor FM to get started. That's the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. And we'll see you back at PR After Hours. Welcome back to PR After Hours. I'm your host, Alex, your virtual cocktail of PR news, tips, and advice in the lounge here, the virtual lounge. And I'm excited to talk to you this week about a little bit of a productivity hack. I got to tell you, I have a very weird relationship with email. It's love-hate. Maybe you have the same relationship? Probably do, right? You can drive yourself crazy answering email all day. A few years ago, I instituted a few things to make myself a little less crazy with email. I'm going to talk about that in a minute, but I was going to refer back to, this is a few years old, but this is a article in CMO I saw about email usage, how it's still on the rise, driven primarily by consumer shift to mobile, according to a study by Adobe Digital Insights. And at the same time, email is evolving. It's less formal in a world that is moving toward texting and emojis, and in which smartphones are the preferred device for accessing email. So they did this survey, and there's some interesting facts here. 49% of millennials, age 18 to 34, say they check email while still in bed. 84% of people responding say they check email regularly. We're talking work and personal on their smartphone. There are over 4 hours a day spent on email, according to this survey too, by most people, most respondents. I mean, that's crazy. Half your workday is on email, either writing emails or responding to email. No. If email is taking up 4 hours or more of your day, I've got to tell you something. That tool is using you. You are not using that tool, right? I learned this a long time ago. Just to be straight up with you, I got anxious about email. I felt like, oh my God, if I'm not looking at email, I'm going to miss a valuable client contact or some information or the fear of missing out. It became a thing with me where I just literally was not in my right state of mind because of email to a large degree. Now, that sounds crazy. Think about your own relationship to email. If you're concerned about missing something or if you check email several times in an hour, you've got an unhealthy relationship with email. It's a communications tool. It's a method of communication, right? It is not supposed to be like, some kind of, boss over you and demanding your attention. So there's a few tips I want to go through with you that I think are pretty helpful. You need to create an email productivity system. Becoming efficient in email is important, and the way to do that, a productivity system can really help. Some people like to use folders with specific actions like do, delegate, reply, while others prefer the deadline-driven approach, today, tomorrow, next week. There's systems with labels, filters, and a combination of both. There's an article I'm going to link to that has more detail about that, but that's one thing, is to start thinking about a system that works for you. And there's a lot of great email plugins that you can do. Gmail has a lot of great stuff, by the way. Undo send, have you ever sent something you just regretted immediately? It's like, oh no, I didn't mean to send that. Not because you said something bad necessarily, although there's that, but maybe you just said something halfway before you'd finish the sentence and you accidentally hit send. So you can pull that thing back in a certain amount of time. Like you can set how many seconds. Like I always set about a 10-second line on it. That way, if I've sent something and I forgot to add something, or didn't CC the right people or whatever, that's pretty helpful. There's canned responses too. Man, when I'm away on vacation, you know it, because you get usually a lighthearted response from me, which basically says, I'm on vacation, or it's Christmas, get a life, I'm not going to respond to you, that kind of thing. I just think that's important. That lets people know right away that you're not going to jump right on it and respond immediately. And I always do that. I say delayed response or out of office, and you can expect a response blank and no sooner. That way people aren't sitting there going, oh my gosh, is he going to get back to me today, tomorrow? When is it going to be? I always pretty well just say. Now, there's some people who are really extreme about this over the holidays. They will just say, just so you know, if you sent me an email and you're getting this message, I will not look at it. You will need to resend this email on this date so I can see it, because I am not going to get back from vacation and spend an entire day digging out of emails. I think that's brilliant, just brilliant. It's like filing like the email bankruptcy, but it's freedom for you. I just love that. Another thing too is receive fewer emails. Here's something I've been doing a lot lately: unsubscribe from anything you don't need. Newsletters, groups, mailing lists, notifications. You can cut the volume of emails received by 80% in one swoop. I get so many. I'm subscribed to a lot of publications, a lot of industry stuff, a lot of newspapers, magazines, entertainment, whatever. And after a while, it just gets old. Send fewer emails is another thing. To get less emails, send less. The more you send, the more you get. Not every email needs a response. If somebody's telling you to do something, it's understood, or telling you how to do something or where to be, you don't have to necessarily respond. I used to get really upset when people didn't respond to my emails until I realized, well, message has been received. It's not disrespectful or anything that they didn't respond. It's just that there's no response necessary. Don't answer right away. Many urgent emails tend to solve themselves if people don't get a reply. I call that the pocket veto. The president, he may veto it by just not signing it, So I kind of do the pocket veto sometimes on some emails from people who are asking for something that, frankly, they can figure out for themselves, or I know will get solved on its own. It's kind of the silent way of saying Google it, buddy. B16, don't write 10 sentences when 2 are needed. I had to work on that too. I'm an old letter writer. I'm an old journalist, so I like to really write a letter when I email, and that's got to go. Respond with statements. Don't reply with maybe, 10 or 11 a.m. What do you think? To schedule a meeting or time, be assertive. 10 a.m. Boom. Yes. Not maybe. Don't leave any daylight, because if there's daylight, then somebody has to respond back and go, well, there seemed to be a little daylight in your answer. Is it between now and then, or then and then? So you need to be firm and declarative. And get personal. Sometimes it's easier to call, or imagine this, talk face-to-face. Personal interactions beat email any day of the week. Love this article, by the way. This is from dansilvestri.com, and I'll put a link in the show notes, a lot of this stuff here. I'm embellishing a little bit from my own opinions, but I'm following some great stuff on this piece. There's all kinds of other great stuff on email etiquette and email scheduling, and keeping it short, make it scannable, avoid squishy words. I talked about that a moment ago. Don't say I feel, I'm not sure, perhaps. Using the passive voice or any adverbs that waste time for both you and your recipient, create confusion, misunderstandings. Know what you want. Bold the important things in an email too. I also think writing an email in the inverted pyramid, the kind of the way we used to do it as a journalist, where you put the lead of the story. It used to be spelled L-E-D-E. It's often spelled L-E-A-D now. And that would be the most important thing in a story, so that readers who are just scanning articles can read the first couple of paragraphs and get the gist of it, and then there's supporting material below it. And that's kind of how I like to write emails too when I'm writing a long one. Keep conversations small. Only include the people who need to be a part of the discussion. Oh my God, the dreaded reply all, right? Remember that? Ugh. Anyway, this is what I do, okay? I told you earlier I have a lot of anxiety about email because I just feel like I'm missing something important, or, I could be working on something and who knows, this could be some more information that I should put into a proposal or a document or something. Who knows? I think it's all been inculcated into me since my corporate days before I went out on my own 10 years ago. So here's what I do to stay sane. Besides the things I've already mentioned that I saw in this article that I often do, I only check email 3 times a day. And I do not check it first thing in the morning. When I get out of bed, I will confess I'm having to work on my Twitter habit of looking at Twitter when I first wake up, or even Instagram. Glance at that on my phone, which is at my bedside, and I've got to work on getting rid of that. But I like to have it by my bedside because it's my primary phone in my residence. And if somebody needs me and calls, I'd like the phone handy. But anyway, I've got to work on that. But what I don't do is just start looking at work stuff. No, I get out of bed. I do whatever I need to do to get ready, brush my teeth, wash my face, comb my hair, take a shower, whatever I got to do. Before I get at my desk, I don't look at email and work stuff until I sit at my desk. And that's when I know I have to do that. And I typically do it just only a few minutes before my 8 o'clock start time every day. Some mornings I get up a little early and if I want to get the jump on it. But typically, I don't look at email first thing. First thing is yourself. Get a cup of coffee, get a shower, whatever it is you do. Or if you're on a train and a commute, then you can look at email. But for me, I don't have far to go to my office, so I take my time, and that's not the first thing I look at. But once I do look at it, I look in the morning, I will often look just prior to lunch to make sure there's nothing that's, a pot on the boil, so to speak, before lunch that could be a problem. And that way I can also enjoy my lunch knowing, okay, there's nothing, at least at the time I went for lunch or stopped working for a little bit to eat, that there's nothing to worry about there. Now, of course, the consequence of that can often be there was something and then you have to work through your lunch to fix it, but that's a price I'm willing to pay. Last time I check email, typically about 4:30. I stop work around 5:15, depends on the day. Some days earlier, some days later. But around 4:30, that's my last look at email. I just check it, make sure there's nothing that needs attending to before I sign off for the day. That helps me keep my sanity. And then I don't look at it the rest of the day. I'm fortunate to work for myself, and my clients I don't mean this unkindly, but I've trained them to understand I am not checking email all day long. If you have an issue that's very important, text me or call me. Of course, they also know don't text or call me after a certain time in the evenings because unless I'm being paid to be a crisis communication on-call person, there is nothing going on with my clients that is so important that they can't wait until the next workday. And I just think that makes me a better contractor, that makes me a better employee, that makes me a better creative person. It makes me a better human in so many ways because I'm not stressed out and I'm not wasting time on stuff that's not that important and stuff that's going to make me lose valuable personal time, me time, family time I could be spending working on my novels, time I could be spending just doing the things like exercising that keeps me sane. If you, for some reason, have like a audio, like a ding, a bell, or, remember AOL used to have, "You've got mail." If you've got something like that, get rid of it. You do not need that Pavlov's bell ringing constantly, letting you know that your inbox is filling up. I mean, it distracts you. It's not helpful. In fact, you know what else I've done? I have email on my phone, but I have gotten rid of the notification. So when I look at the icon for my email app, it never shows me if I have a new email or not. I find that beneficial because if I see the notification, that's just the same as checking email as far as I'm concerned. So I've talked quite a bit about this. As you can tell, I'm very passionate about it, but I think it's an important productivity hack. I think it's an important life hack to have a sense of proportionality about your email. And again, the last thing I'll say about this is if you adopt these rules, you owe it to your colleagues, your boss, your clients to let them know this is how you are. And here's how you frame it. You just say, in order for me to serve you better, I need to carve out times of the day when I'm not checking email or worried about what's in the email. I need times a day to actually work. I need times a day to actually go meet with people. And when I meet with people, I do not want to be looking at my phone or at my laptop when I'm supposed to be having a conversation or a meeting or doing a creative assignment or whatever it might be. So I think that's a great way to frame it. And people who don't understand that, they probably are slaves to their email too, so they need the help too. All right. I hope you enjoyed this and hope it was helpful to you. And don't forget, if you have a question or a comment or a suggestion that you'd like on the show, sign into Anchor FM. There's a link in the show notes. Get your own account. It's free. And then you can record on your smartphone a question that I will play on the show and do my best to answer. Sound good? And if your virtual bartender here served up something good here, a good tasty PR management, life hack, job hack cocktail for you, maybe you could drop a few shekels in the tip jar. What do you think? So just check that out. And of course, don't forget to visit the mothership, prafterhours.com, for more information, links to all sorts of things. And there's also a great page that's got all my upcoming public appearances where I'll be speaking at several conferences and I'll be on TV and some other stuff there, so you can check it out. And if you happen to be in the area where these conferences are or in the viewing area of the TV shows, you can check it out and say, wow, he is not at all what I expected. Okay, until next time, this is Alex Greenwood with PR After Hours. Thanks for listening.